When it comes to streaming and content creation, audio quality is king, and that's actually what we're talking about in today's video with the microphone you're currently listening to, the Flipcast from HyperX. Now, without getting too far into all of the stuff, because we're covering everything that's included with this, not only USB, XLR support, RGB, a monitoring system on the top right here, a whole bunch of really cool things. What I want to tell you is that this whole video is jam-packed not only with sound samples against other microphones that do the exact same thing between USB and XLR, but also the software side of this and how this microphone could be the option for you for your next upgrade. I do want to say thank you to HyperX for sending this product over. No, this isn't a paid review. They're not sponsoring this at all. They're not even seeing this ahead of time. They did send the product over for free for me to take a look at and review on this channel. Now, this is the HyperX Flipcast, and we'll just go ahead and zoom in so we can see what's happening here. This is the dynamic microphone. It's got some RGB on it. It's even got a metering spot on the top, at least by what we're seeing here. It is an end-address dynamic cardioid microphone, kind of like the SM7B or the K688, the AMA, all of those. The end address you speak in from this direction. It is a 32-bit 192 kilohertz microphone. It also has a low cut and present boost filters, even has an LED bar, so when you're connected over USB, not over XLR, over USB, you'll be able to monitor all of that on the top, which is nice. All right, let's zoom that back out. It looks like it's got integrated mic control dial, tap to mute, foam, pop filter, obviously. And then for the USB side, you obviously can plug it into whatever you want. But the benefit of this is also XLR. So you get a headphone port, which will work when you're going to be using the USB right here. But if it's XLR, this is how you're going to be able to get full control over another mixer. But when you buy a microphone like this, you're trying to use it for XLR, it's important that you always consider the cost of the mixer you want to plug it into, whether it be like the HyperX interface that they have, which I still have yet to cover, but I do have, or something like the Wave XLR or whatever the case. Really neat stuff. It's a really nice looking microphone. To be honest, I like the dial, I like the touch to mute, and then if you notice really close, we'll take a look at in a second, the present boosts and the low pass are just, they're really small little dials. Anyway, all that said, let's get it unboxed and take a look at it. Liking this kind of easy open seal that they have here instead of having to kind of pick at all this or cut it or whatever the case. All right, let's take a look at the white kind of paper. I bet you this is a cable. Should be the USB. Oh, it's a braided USB cable. And in this one, you get a USB-C, which I'm assuming plugs in the microphone. And then you have a USB-A and a USB-C with an adapter. And this is really cool. And this microphone being like, it's over $200. I'll put the price on the screen. I think it's $220 something. For it to be this price, I would hope that they included an adapter. All right, and then the microphone itself is in a really nice pouch. Oh my gosh. Like an actual nice pouch, and it even has HyperX on the front of it. I kind of like this. Wow, this is pretty cool. I actually carry some camera stuff in this. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this microphone out. Oh, it feels so good. There's nothing else in this box, minus a quick start guide up here at the very top. But what I'm going to do is just kind of put everything back in here so I can clean up my desk a little bit. We'll take a look at this microphone. So here's the Flipcast microphone, and oh, I love this chrome inset look. This like insert, I guess that's the correct word. From one angle, it just kind of blends in, but it is chrome and it flashes. Oh, that's so cool. The handle of the microphone reminds me a lot of, I think it's the Logitech Creator mic now. It used to be called the Blue Nova or whatever it was. Sonova, I can't remember what it was. I wasn't too happy about that microphone necessarily, but very similar. This has got some weight to it. It's kind of weighs about the same as the SM7B, if I'm being honest. It's got a nice twist on attachment here, which a lot of microphones don't have, which is definitely SM7B. Inspired there. It does have an adapter here at the back to be able to put it on and off of a stand, which is cool. On the back, that's good to be able to pay attention to. We have our presence boost and our low cut. I'm actually going to turn both of these off, or green. Actually, they were off. Green means they're on. So they come out of the box off, and you can turn them on. We'll do audio tests with each one of them off, and then each one of them on, and then whatever the case. On the back, once again, we do have the XLR, USB, as well as headphones. And on the front, we have the volume dial, which I'm assuming is going to be gain. And then underneath the plastic peel, oh, that's satisfying. Against this matte surface, having this nice glossy part is pretty nice. And I'm assuming and this is actually with the XLR, all of this would be off. it's actually still will be pretty attractive. You can see the bars here, but on camera, let me switch my camera. If I were having it up here, let me put it kind of in the same place. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell what that is from here. That's pretty cool. Oh, nice. Okay, so here's the capsule, and if I put my hand behind it, you can see that it's pretty close to the tip, right? So you really only have about that much room to play with. So I bet when we're close to the front of this, we're going to have a lot of plosives. So we're probably going to have to be a little bit further back. For reference, here I'll go ahead and pull the SM7Bs off. You can see how much space, and obviously the audio is going to be a little weird, how much space is there in comparison to where I can get kind of up on the end of this and not have a lot of those plosives. Other than that, really nice, and this fits on nice and snug. It gets down to this point, and then it snaps in place. So it's not going to be coming off very easily. Really nice. HyperX so far, just build quality, really nice. Nice big knobs, plenty of adjustment. This isn't a 180 arm or anything like that, but man, really cool so far. So what's in front of me is the HyperX Flipcast, and I have it currently connected by USB, and I have an old headset, the HyperX Cloud 2s, connected to this microphone to be able to kind of talk about all the features that are currently happening with it, mess around with it a few minutes. I still haven't heard it. So again, what you're hearing is kind of like the first impression for you as well as for me, because I'm going to hear it in post when I do the editing. So I want to show you everything that's really cool with this. And then we'll kind of get into the rest of it. So this does support the Ngenuity software, and make sure you go download this and install the drivers, whatever the case. I am running the beta version of this software. It's just because it was like the first bubble on the left compared to the one on the right. So here's the HyperX Flipcast, which you can go ahead and see is on all of this, is some pretty easily laid out stuff. The mute button, you can see the monitoring piece here, and then some other stuff we'll talk about in a moment. The mute button, when you touch it, will actually turn these lights red, and the RGB will turn off, which you can see right there. And then also on the back, you have this knob. I'll zoom back and make that focus where you can see back here. There's actually an up and down, and this is what will adjust your microphone volume, your headphone volume, as well as the mix between headphone and microphone. For example, you could turn off microphone monitoring and have all game, or you could turn off the game and just have mic monitoring, whatever the case. So to be able to change in between those, you actually push in that dial and it will change over. You can see headphones, that'll be your headphone volume. Then you have your headphone and microphone mix. And then by moving and rotating this dial, you can kind of see where it lands in the middle, whatever the case. You can actually press it. Now you're on the microphone gain. Once again, the headphone volume, and then the mix. And then you can just not touch it and it will go back to where it needs to be, and it will remember the setting that you were on last. So if I wanted to make that adjustment in between, I could do that. Most likely I would leave this probably on headphones so I can adjust my headphone volume up and down. Now the live mixing piece where it's right here in front of you is actually really cool. However, it might be distracting for some people. I wish there was a way to actually turn that off if somebody wanted to be able to do that, but to each his own. We'll kind of leave that where it's at. Now I'm back in the software, and as you can see, we have headphone volume. Again, you have that full slider. You can even mute it or unmute it. You can even mute from here and make that adjustment as a physical adjustment. We also have an input equalizer. We can add a preset so that this is all done ahead of what's happening in your system, and you just select the Ngenuity microphone rather than the actual like microphone input from your computer, because it'll give you both. If you install the software, you'll get the actual USB input, but then you also get the Ngenuity, which will have all of these settings attached to it. You also have the mic monitor playback, which is what we were talking about earlier, this kind of movement in between the two. And then you have effects, for example, AI noise reduction, compressor, and limiter. So I'm actually going to turn on the compressor, and this is with the compressor on so that you can hear what this is like. It should be bringing up the lower sounds and kind of evening everything out. I did lower the volume on this, or the actual sensitivity on this microphone. I'm going to turn it back up just a little bit. Then they also have the limiter, which is going to keep it from peaking, so it'll kind of hold it at a specific spot from actually peaking over on the top of the microphone, which is really nice. And then you have AI noise reduction, which should be removing background sounds. And I'm not sure if you've heard any difference, but I'll kind of just roll my hands around in front of the microphone, right? Maybe tap on the desk just a little bit with my fingers. And then I'm going to turn that off and do the same. So this is the same sound with me just rolling my hands in front of the microphone and then tapping the desk with my fingers on a mouse pad. Now I can turn those off, right? I could have set up an equalizer, but I kind of want to leave it, just blank for you guys to hear. And there's also the 2 dip switches, which is the presence boost as well as the low cut. We'll turn those on in a moment. They're both off currently, but in the sound test, I'll show you with it on and off when we do those in a moment. And by the way, we're still not even connected over XLR. This is just the USB connection. Now under lighting, it's already preset with this like surging RGB waves. They call it surging waves right here, but they do have probably some options. We can go ahead and click edit. We can add effect. Yeah, you can see solid, swipe, calming waves. Maybe we choose calming waves and just kind of let it. Oh, I like that so much better because it definitely had like a weird FPS kind of glitchy vibe on the other one. There's confetti. That's kind of nice. We have sunrise. We'll just go in between a couple. Surging waves was what was on there. Twinkle, which is just selecting a few lights here and there. Alternating between blue and red. That's kind of interesting. I'm assuming if I hit add effects, I can change these colors. Yeah, totally. Oh, and I can even choose the area on what's being done. That's so cool. We can also just do solid swipe. We'll just kind of like load it up like a progress bar. Oh, these are all really nice. I like calming waves. I think we leave calming waves. We can adjust the speed. We can make it slow. We can adjust the opacity. All this is really nice. I think that's what we do. Maybe we delete the other ones and just leave calming waves on there. Maybe we adjust the speed down so that it has like this slower rolling effect. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. All right, we're gonna hit save, and that's our new RGB setting. And for those of you curious, here's the overhead shot with that surging or that calming waves as it's just rotating through. It actually looks really nice. Now let's go ahead and do some sound samples. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, is it a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Now, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in XLR and do that same test, but I'm not going to do the other dip switches. I'm just going to do the raw sound so you can hear what it sounds like on XLR. And just to clarify, I have the XLR as well as the USB plugged in, and both are working just fine at the same time on the same computer. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, Earth, the commander, method, and discipline. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline." To wrap this video up, I'm actually going to do it by a question. What do you think about this microphone? And knowing that this microphone is around $200 or a little over $200, do you think that it is worth the price to pick up for something like this in comparison to some of the other microphones we talked about? Now, I do want to go ahead and talk about the software that is here, because you can get so much already included that can be software side ahead of where your microphone goes in, noise cancellation, compressor, limiter. Wish there was a little more customization on the compressor and the limiter rather than just a toggle, because I don't know what exactly you're all doing there, but I do like the fact that there's at least a 10-band EQ and some other options there. The lighting's really nice. USB, the switching in between, the build quality of this is all really nice. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. You should totally check out this video where I actually cover the Quadcast 2 from HyperX and also the little bitty Solocast 2 that I just covered. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll see you in the next one.